Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So guys, in this video we are going to see a React task. In this we are given a basic requirement and then we have to write code accordingly. So basically this is a very basic task of React, okay, and this will help us to build further projects in that we are going to build in the upcoming videos. So basically I am doing this task just to make the logic building, okay. So I would highly recommend all of you guys to write the code for it before watching the video, and then if you are stuck anywhere and if you can't write the logic of it, you can definitely see the video. So let's get started. First of all, what we need to do is we have to let's look at the requirements. What we have to do is we have to display an initial count value of 0 on the screen. Then we have to include two buttons labeled as increment and decrement next to the count. Clicking the increment button should increase the count by 1 and clicking the decrement button should decrease the count by 1. The count value should never go below 0 and clicking the reset button should reset the count to 0. So let's do this one by one. So first of all, I'll go to my code editor, and what I have done is I have created a component task1.js, and I have called my task1.js task1 component into app component. Okay, now let us write the component. So RFC, and here what we can see is task1 is displaying on the screen. So let's start writing our code. So here we are given that display an initial count value of 0. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to display an initial count value of 0. So okay, let us now consider that we are not given any further steps, so I'm just directly displaying the count value of 0 on screen. Okay, next is they are saying include two buttons labeled increment and decrement next to count. So let me create two buttons, okay, labeled as increment and decrement. So in this way what I can do is, so before that I should wrap my entire code in a single div, because otherwise it will give me an error. So here I'll put another div. Okay, and now so we have first of all printed this, and now we need two buttons. So button which will say increment and another button which will say decrement. Okay, let's see whether we have the buttons in place. Yes, so we have increment and decrement. Now we have to make them functional. So first of all, it is said that clicking the increment button should increase the count value by 1 and clicking the decrement should decrease the count value by 1. So how can we do this? So basically what we can do is we can put an on-click event handler here, and then we can run a function. That function, what it will do is it will increase this count value by 1 or decrease by 1. So basically, first of all, in order to increase or decrease its value, we have to store its value somewhere. So what I can do is I can create a state for it in order to store the value. So const, and I can write value or I can write count, okay, because we are storing count. So set count and use state. So and here I can initialize it with 0, and instead of hard coding 0, now what I'm going to write is I'm going to write this count value. Okay, so now if you see, our code look exactly the same. Now let's write the increment functionality. So as I told, what we will need is we will need on click event handler. So I would write a function handle click. Okay, and now we need to define this function. So let's define it. So const handle click and arrow function, and here what we are going to do is I want that whenever I click on that button, my count value should update. So I can use this set count method, and what I want is count should be count plus 1. Okay, let's see whether our code is working or not. So if you see, now when I'm clicking on increment, it is working fine, but decrement is not yet, we have not written the logic for decrement. So let's write it. So I want that when I click on decrement button, another function, so I should not call it as ideally as handle click, because this was performing addition. So I will write handle add, okay, and I will rename it to handle add, so it will be just meaningful. And you should also always write meaningful function name, so that it will be easy to understand your code. So now let us write the logic for handle minus. Okay, so I'm writing const handle minus, and here what we want is set count should be count minus 1. What is our current value of count? That should be decrement by 1. So let us see. So if you see now, count value is decrement is decrementing our value, and increment is incrementing our value. Okay. So yeah, but there is one more thing as of now. The value is going in minus. Okay, and in the requirement it is given in the 5th point that the count value should never go below 0. This is important. Okay, now we have to write the logic in such a way that our count value should never go below 0. So basically we have to understand that increment, there is no change required in the increment function, because like the handle add function, because it is only responsible for adding up the values, right? We only want that our handle, when we are clicking on a handle minus, we have to do some check. Whenever it reaches 0, then don't decrement it further, right? So we have to write this logic. So how can we write it? Basically we can do a if else condition, or we can use ternary operator in this case. So what I can do is I can write count if it is less than 1, which means if count is 0 or any value less than it. So what you have to do is you have to set count to 0. Okay, which means if your value is -1, -2, anything, you have to set count it to 0, and basically here question mark will come, and here rest of the what we were doing, which means like decrement operation we have to do. Okay, let's see whether it is working or not. So refresh. Increment is working as it is, decrement is working, and if you see now I am clicking on decrement, it is only reaching till 0. So now you have understood the logic. So if the count value is less than 1, then we are setting it to 0. Otherwise normally we are doing the decrement operation. Let's see the last point, which is clicking the reset button should reset the count to 0. So let's create a reset button also now quickly. So here we have this reset button. Okay, and let's see whether we can see the reset button on the screen. Yes, we have a reset button. What I want is when I click on this reset button, it should make my count value as 0. So this is also pretty forward straight. So what I have done is I have created a reset function. Okay, and let me write the function definition. So const handle reset, and then I'm going to create a function for it. So here what I want is I want to set the count value. Whenever this button is clicked, I want the set count value to be 0. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to refresh my code. So this is incrementing, this is decrementing. Let's try to reset. So if you see where I'm resetting it, it is resetting to 0. So we have implemented all the logics. Our increment is working as expected, our decrement is working as expected, and the value is also not going below 0, and even our reset is working as expected. So we have achieved all the 6 points. So this basically, this question was easy, but it helps us to build the logic when we do it on our own. So in the next video we are going to do more interview question. So that's all for this video. If you are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and you will find all the React related interview questions playlist, so you can check all the questions that are generally being asked in React interviews. So thanks for watching the video, and I will see you in next video.